The gift my friend's boyfriend gave me for my birthday was excessively expensive and inappropriate. The author of the post is listed in the description. Hey everyone! Last week I celebrated my birthday with my friend group. We're all fairly close, and whilst we've never discussed presents, gifts explicitly, we all kind of naturally fell into an unspoken pattern around what kind of birthday gifts we give to each other. We do gifts, but they're usually in the 10-40 euro range. Think things like a book, a voucher for theater tickets, maybe a nice bottle of wine, that kind of stuff. We're all young professionals or grad students, and that just fits our general income level. A good friend of mine brought her boyfriend to the party, and he gave me a gift of his own, separate from my friend's. Without going into too much detail, it was a small object that had a very thoughtful connection to a trip I took in winter. I was genuinely very thankful for the gift and thought it was lovely. However, when I unpacked the item at home, something about it just caught my eye. Certain parts of the item that I would have expected to be made of glass didn't look like glass. I ended up Googling the maker's mark on the bottom and found the exact same item online for the price of 750 euros. Now, it'd be one thing if this guy was a trust fund kid for whom that kind of money was just peanuts. I'd still feel uncomfortable, but at least there'd be some logic to this then. But my friend's relationship with this guy already has massive problems, largely centered around him being underemployed and making her pick up the tab for their shared lifestyle to an undue degree. We honestly all expect the relationship to fizzle out soon, because they obviously aren't compatible in some key aspects. So now I've got this 750 euro item on my shelf, and I've no clue how to handle this. It feels extremely inappropriate to have this thing. I'd feel uncomfortable accepting this sort of gift from almost anyone I know, but the fact that it's A, a friend's romantic partner, I'm gay and her boyfriend knows, but still, and B, said friend has issues with her partner's handling of his finances just makes it even worse. It's also a highly specific item that I don't think he'd be likely to just have, so I'm pretty certain he must have bought this for the occasion and must be aware of its value. What do I do? My friend seems to be totally unaware of the value of the item. Do I tell her? Do I contact the boyfriend and ask him what the fuck he was thinking? How would you handle this? Comments. Commenter. I'd bring it up with your friend. There is a chance that he got a really good deal, or even a decent knockoff at a lower price. But honestly, if he's bad with money, even something half that price would be pretty inappropriate. Talk to your friend and offer to return the gift if it turns out to have cost as much as you suspect it did. Let them know you are incredibly grateful for his thoughtfulness. But it wouldn't feel right accepting such a lavish gift and that their company and friendship is all that you ask for. Just be honest about how you feel and let your friend decide how she wants to proceed. Commenter. My thought was that it's possible he got it at a second-hand thrift shop. In my experience, thrift shop pricers are not thinking at all about how much something cost initially. There will be plastic cups and plates IKEA sells for 25, 50C labeled as $1, and something obviously nice might get flagged, but is more likely to just be labeled $10. Oop. Yeah, I think I'll have to have a discussion with my friend. I also considered that he might have got some kind of bizarrely amazing deal, and spent all of yesterday night Googling around for auctioning sites and checking whether there might be a chance he bought this without knowing what it was and how much it was worth. I'm pretty sure, though, that unless something genuinely absurd happened, he must have paid at least 500 EUR for this, and even that's a very generously low estimate. There is, of course, a chance that he just had this item, but it's so specific and rare that I don't think some random pseudo-finance bro just has this in his house, sees it, and thinks, huh, it's my girlfriend's friend's birthday. That might be a good chance to get rid of this. Totally bizarre behavior. I don't know what this man was thinking, but I need this thing out of my house. Update, 2 days later. To summarize the original post, my 26F friends, 26F perpetually broke boyfriend, 28M, gave me a gift for my birthday. It initially looked like a thoughtfully chosen, normal gift with a lovely connection to a recent trip to my mother's home country I took in winter, but after growing suspicious of the quality of the materials, I realized that it was in fact an antique worth hundreds of euros. Theories as to what happened included him not being aware of the item's value, possibly having bought it from someone who didn't know what they were selling, or him trying to somehow hurt his girlfriend, my friend, and/or trying to hit on me in a bizarre, inappropriate way. I ended up texting my friend and telling her that I had researched the gift and discovered it was worth a very inappropriate amount of money. She was very surprised by the entire situation, especially considering her boyfriend, now ex, but more on that later, is perpetually broke and makes her foot the bill for their shared lifestyle. She came over to my place, and together we called him on speakerphone, where she demanded some answers. Long story short, he stole it from his own mother. He's still being a bit shady about some details, but we managed to piece together the sequence of events to a satisfactory degree. My friend was supposed to be coming to my birthday party straight from work. When she left her office, she realized she had forgotten the gift she had planned for me, a book, at home. Since she was already running late and her place is pretty far from both her work and my flat, she chose to text her boyfriend, who was having dinner at his parents' home at the time. She knew he was there and knew his parents lived close to me, so she asked him to just buy a copy of the same book at a bookshop on his way to my place so they'd have a gift. For reasons known only to him, he did not choose this simple, reasonable solution to the "we forgot our gift" issue. Instead of leaving 5 minutes early to pick up another copy of the book, he instead chose to just grab a random item off his mother's living room shelf, without asking her. He had no idea what it was, just thought it looked pretty, took it, and stuffed it in a paper bag. He also did not text back my friend or react to her calls, so she, reasonably, assumed he hadn't read her message and ended up going back to get the book, which was why they arrived separately and with separate gifts. Meanwhile, the boyfriend had unknowingly gifted me not just any antique, no. This item had been passed down to his mother from her 3 times great-grandmother. It had been in his family's possession for literal centuries and was the only tangible connection she, his mother, still had to her home country, which incidentally is also my mother's home country, which he wasn't aware of, meaning that what I thought was a thoughtful connection to my trip there was a total coincidence. He had no idea of the item's cultural significance. My friend immediately made him call his mom to fess up to the entire situation. His mother had been running herself ragged trying to figure out where this item disappeared to for days. Obviously, she never suspected thievery, and was blaming herself terribly for having lost something this important. The boyfriend actually had the gall to try to convince her not to make her call his mom. He wanted to sweep the entire thing under the rug. Of course, we didn't let that happen. His mother came by my place this morning, and I returned the item to her, along with some apologies for not starting investigations immediately and some nice chocolate. We had a lovely conversation about our shared cultural heritage. I assured her that the item had been treated with dignity for the entire time it was in my possession, and we parted ways with a hug. She also told me that my initial estimate of the item's value was incorrect. It's actually worth even more money. It would probably sell for a 4-figure sum at auction. I don't know what she wants to do with her son, but I hope she whoops his ass. My friend, for obvious reasons, broke up with him. Lessons learned. Google suspicious gifts and lock away your sentimentals valuables when people you're not entirely sure about come over. The gall of this man. Comments, commenter. Firstly, good on you. Secondly, good on your friend for breaking up with this dope. Thirdly, I laugh at the implication that one should lock valuables away from people you're not entirely sure about if that person is your own child. Oop. True. That poor woman obviously wouldn't have thought her own son would be running around grabbing random things off her shelves. I still ended up checking all of my stuff, considering he appears to have sticky fingers and spent hours in my flat, basically unsupervised on my birthday. I'll grow much more cautious with my valuables when having groups over from now on, especially if the group includes friends' partners who I might not know that well. Commenter. It's so hard to know who you can't trust. One of my mom's co-workers arrived at her wedding reception venue early, offered to help set up chairs, and stole one of the bridesmaids' gifts and all 4 of the groomsmen's gifts which had been set on their plates at the head table. What did Denise the dental receptionist need with 4 bottles of men's fragrance? No idea. But the thief was discovered when she invited all her co-workers, including my mom, to her birthday party at her place. There was a basket containing 4 colognes, weirdly the same ones Mom bought for her bridal party, in the guest bathroom. Oop, that is insane. It almost seems compulsive. There was literally no need to do that. People are so weird. And this has really opened my eyes to how bizarre some people act. Okay, next story. My husband refused to answer my calls while I was in labor, and my brother played a horrible prank. Now my husband, if furious, I won't cut him off. My husband and I got in a fight prior to my daughter's birth a week ago when he casually suggested a paternity test for our daughter when she was born. To be clear, this was completely out of the blue with no wanting or reason. I'm a homebody who works remotely with no male friends other than my brother. I told him that he was accusing me of infidelity, and he said he just wanted to be sure. And kept bringing it up until I told him, after 3 days of him asking and the stress starting to make me physically ill, that I didn't want to talk to him and left to my brother's house. I called him while I was gone and tried to work it out, but he refused. After all this, I went home the next day to grab some things while he was at work, and I went into labor. I called him 16 times, before calling my brother, who called him another half a dozen times himself while on the way to pick me up and then on the way to the hospital. It was a horrible and traumatic birth. I started crowning in the car, and the doctor delivered my daughter in the back of my brother's van because I was too far along to move me, before rushing me in when I kept bleeding. It was horrible. I hated it all. My brother's wife, who is a nurse, even told me she honestly thought I wouldn't make it. I also opted for a hysterectomy as it came to that, or something more dangerous. I only ever wanted one or none, but my husband wants a large family. I'm trying to bond with my daughter, but it's been hard. The point is that during this, while I was returning from surgery, 10 hours after I called, my husband finally responded and asked why I hadn't answered his asterisk call. However, my brother had my phone and was so angry that he said, "This is Op's brother. I'm at the hospital. She didn't make it," and turned it off. My husband rushed over and got there when I had just woken up and started shouting until the security forced him out. And then didn't get to see our daughter until the next day because I was mostly asleep, and apparently they needed my signature to allow him back. My Sil thinks it was horribly cruel, but that he deserved it. But my brother stands by his prank and says that he only gave my husband 10 minutes of the same fear he had felt at my side for 10 plus HRS. Whenever he sees my husband, he also keeps telling him that I nearly died because we waited for him. My brother used to be mostly indifferent to my husband, but now he absolutely hates him. You can see it in his face whenever my husband enters the room. And he's been visiting a lot because he doesn't trust my husband to care for me while I'm still healing. My husband is furious that he won't apologize and that I won't make him, and yelled at me when I said that the only reason my brother had my phone was because he wasn't there. I am trying to be empathetic. I know he feels guilty. I've spoken to my therapist, and she says the apathy I'm feeling is likely general and not solely focus on him from lingering shock from the trauma. But didn't say much about the prank. My MIL has been texting me to say that my family is horribly cruel for the prank and that I should go no contact with my brother, and now my husband is saying the same. I just don't know what to do. I'm not in a good headspace. It's been hard to be in the same room with my husband, and I've been sleeping in the guest room with my daughter. He brought up the paternity once, and I just exhaustedly told him to either get out of my face or go stay with his mom if he's planning on stressing me out even more. I really don't feel myself, and yes, I am taking the likelihood of PPD seriously, and my therapist who has suggested that it may be PTSD too. However, I just want more opinions because I just don't know. Relevant comments. Commenter. Holy, there's a lot here. I want to say firstly, this isn't a black and white issue. The fight you had was real, your anger was real, and the anger you feel at your husband is real. Your brother's prank was too far, but not completely undeserving. The big issue is that everyone's pride is still seemingly involved here and there isn't a concrete solution when everyone is pointing fingers. I suggest wait 2 months to see if either one party humbles themselves or to let it peak. But if they keep conflict going, let everyone know they're cut off. It's not fair to you to have to choose one or another party when it was you in labor and asterisk your life asterisk on the line. UAP. If it came to a choice at this moment, I feel like I'd choose my brother. He has never not been there for me and literally the older brother every sister wants. I feel so guilty feeling that way, but also my brother, even though he absolutely hates my husband right now, has put that aside to help me and hasn't brought it up at all and has even ignored my husband's anger because he doesn't want to get into an argument and stress me more. I'm still just feel like I'm not looking at this clearly enough because he's my husband, and my own anger about this is too much wrapped in trauma right now. Update. I can't update the old post, but since so many people reached out, I thought I'd make a new one. So I don't think this will be something we can come back from. I just don't think I'll be able to heal with him because there is no way he didn't know it was me calling. and he still hasn't told me why he didn't answer. I know I thought I wouldn't decide right away, but I actually don't want to forget how terrible it was waiting on him, thinking he couldn't possibly leave me like that no matter how angry he was. I took the time to think of that moment before it all went down, and just how grossly betrayed and scared and alone I felt while the contractions were hitting, and I was on my knees trying to breathe through the pain while waiting on the phone while it rang, though. And I just don't think there's any coming back for that. I wouldn't want my daughter to think it's okay to stay with a man who destroyed her trust that way either. I will be contacting an attorney and will be meeting with them in the coming weeks. We had a prenup, so it hopefully won't be to hellish, I hope. I feel like this situation became even clearer when my friend asked me if I'd still trust him as the one to sign off on my medical papers, and the reaction to that idea was visceral. I wouldn't, and I want him to get off that legality as soon as possible, in fact. There are roommates I had in college would trusted more. I would have never ignored so many calls from him consecutively unless I had told him expressly that I was unavailable at a specific time, and even then. I feel good with my brother and Sil here with me, especially so with her being a nurse and having been there through the birth. It's really helped us bond in a way that we'd never really had time to. I've also finally told my old friends about the baby, and they are alternating to come and help me out for the next little while. None of this even touched the paternity test, but I'll get it for the proceedings, I guess. So I guess he'll get what he wanted. Anyway, I'm safe and well, and my daughter is healthy and happy as a peach, and pretty much an angel who is happy to sleep peacefully anywhere and took to the boob with ease, which is such a blessing since everything still hurts. Just making this decision has taken an odd weight off my shoulders, and my Sil has been really helping us bond. Anyway, thank you for letting me write this out. I'm not good at diaries or journals, but writing to people feels different, and it's actually brilliant for the clarity of the situation. Even my therapist said that I seemed clearer and calmer. I might try a diary again, as she suggested. July 9th, 2022. Some intro in the case. Popped the paternity test question on me with no reason. We fought for a couple days before I went to my brother's. I was within 2 weeks of my due date. Went into labor at our house, called him 16 times. Father called him 7, 9 more. He did not answer. My brother had to pick me up, had a traumatic birth, was kept bleeding, was lucky to conscious enough to sign for myself to get a hysterectomy when things went wrong. Nearly died. He contacted me 10+ hours later, unapologetic. Has mentioned the paternity test against the week plus since. Still has not told me why he didn't answer. I will now be going forward with divorcing him as I no longer trust him as a partner. We do have a prenup, me with my house and my business and him with money from his family. I do intend on filing for full custody, as I think his reaction, whether spiteful or not, was dangerous. And as a father missing calls, 23+ in a row could be a life and death situation. Is it always worth investigating infidelity in divorces if it's suspected? And do any divorce lawyers find this all seemingly suspicious in their opinions? I will be contacting my lawyer this week. I will likely be getting the paternity test for the divorce. Relevant comments. Commenter. There's almost no chance that you'll be awarded full custody because your husband ignored phone calls and wasn't present for the birth of your child. Often mothers have majority custody while the infant is young and gradually transition towards a more equitable arrangement. Whether or not it's in your best interest to investigate potential infidelity depends on your location, the contents of your prenup, and other factors. ETA. If, for example, you live in a fault state, where cheating could affect the distribution of marital assets or your prenup contains an infidelity clause that would benefit you, then this might be worth pursuing. You need to discuss this with your lawyer. Your question about your husband projecting is more psychological than legal. OOP. Thank you. I will follow my lawyer's lead. But I do feel rather strongly about a man who would put spite over another person's well-being when they know that are in a vulnerable position, as a reason not to have a child rely on them. I never thought I would be saying that. I married him. But I think anyone that has an unreliable partner should be aware of such for their children. It is not my intention to keep him from her. And I agree it is a more psychological term. It was just used a lot in regards to his actions, and I was curious if divorce lawyer found that a lot of fault infidelity accusation came from partners who were cheating themselves. How do you like these stories? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.